that task, given that age-appropriate task, it helps them, to know that they can do something to help the family. So when children have responsibilities at home, that empowerment gives them the assurance that they can do some other things. They can also help, other people. They build friendships with that empowerment. They build the courage that they need to do the next thing, whatever that may be, so it empowers them. It, gives them that grit.
Welcome, Linwood Unified School District families, to another episode of Beyond the Classroom. Thank you for joining us again this week, and we are very excited to have, not only is she one of our social emotional learning specialists, but she's a lifelong friend.
Yes.
We've known each other for over 25 years, working here in Linwood Unified in different roles. So we have Ms. Patrice Morris, who is our SEL Specialist, but former teacher.
Yes.
Yes, for Linwood Unified. So she has a lot of experience working with our students. And we're here to talk about, what are we here to talk about, Ms. Morris?
How responsibilities are important for students' future.
Yes, responsibilities.
Responsibilities are number one.
Yes. I think as a society right now, I think we've taken a lot of responsibilities away.
Yes.
From our kids.
And yes, some of the parents are actually doing the things that the students or the children should be doing themselves.
Yeah.
Right, taking that away.
It's a sensitive topic because we don't want parents to think that we're judging or we're, criticizing any parenting.
Absolutely.
We're not. That's not our goal. Our goal for this podcast is to bring awareness to things that we see that transfer over.
Yes.
To here in the schools. And parents do complain to us about, he doesn't want to help me.
Right.
He doesn't want to do this. He doesn't want to do that. And we just wanted to have this episode as a reminder that it is okay for your child to have responsibilities at home.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's okay. Mom, if you're hearing this, it's okay. Don't feel guilty.
Don't feel guilty at all.
Yeah, because I think a lot of the guilt is real.
Yes.
Where we say, they've been at school all day, right?
They've been working hard all day. They need to relax.
Yeah. We take a lot from them when we don't give them responsibilities.
Absolutely.
I just finished another episode on motivation, on self-discipline.
Yes.
And we got to think about, we're not only raising kids, but we're raising the future adults.
Absolutely.
Right? So the importance of having responsibilities at home. That's what we're here to talk about today.
Yes.
And we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Like I said, Ms. Morris has been working here for 20 years.
20 years, going on 20 years.
Going on 20 years.
Yes.
And then she has a lot of experience through the LA County Office of Education.
Absolutely, yes.
So she's been exposed to a lot of families. And thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
I always love talking to you because you have a lot of experience, and I wanted the parents to hear you.
Okay, thanks.
So thank you. So Ms. Morris is located at Marshall Elementary School, and she does the SEL Social Emotional Learning with our students.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we're excited about that.
Yes.
So let's talk about responsibilities.
Okay.
So let's just overall, why is it important for kids to have responsibilities at home?
Well, when students have responsibilities, or kids, your children, they have responsibilities, it makes them accountable. It gives them accountability. It builds their self-worth. It makes them feel good. They feel proud, when they have those responsibilities. And then on the short end, they know that they're capable of doing the things that, other people in the family might be doing. Yeah. They're capable of making sure things get done. And then on the long end, they build independence. They build adult skills, life skills to move on. They build friendships, and they build relationships on the job. Yeah. They build, those communities when they become adults.
Yeah.
So those life skills and those responsibilities, it's really important. Really.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because nobody wants to work with or hang out with or be around someone that doesn't contribute.
Yes.
To whatever it is.
And we want our students to be contributed. When they become adults, we want them to be able to contribute to their communities, build their communities up.
Yeah.
You know?
And it starts at home.
It does.
It does start at home.
Absolutely.
And again, we're not here to judge or anything like that. It's just sometimes we forget as parents,
Yes.
you know, what we need to do to help our kids become responsible.
Exactly.
So how do you see that here? Like, okay, let's start with this question. At what age?
Okay.
At what age should students or children start having like household responsibilities, and what do you think that looks like?
Well, they could start early. They could start at least at 2 years old, you know, that toddler age.
Yeah.
You know, they can start picking up their toys, you know, and they can start, you know, just cleaning up just around their area. That task, you know, given that age appropriate task, it helps them, you know, to know that they can do something to help the family.
Yeah.
So just making sure that the task is age appropriate for them, you know, don't give them something overwhelming, but just picking up the toys.
Yeah.
That's a good age.
Yeah. And I think you said key age appropriate.
Age appropriate.
I shared a story not that long ago with the other podcast about when my son was 2.5, he was going to go to school at 3. Okay. And I remember I started training him on doing his lunch bag. I didn't even think what it was doing for him.
Right.
I just thought what it was going to do for me. Like, it'll help me.
You.
One less thing to do, right?
Right.
So I put the juice in his level, the snacks in his level. I go, this is where you're going to put your bag.
Right.
And I remember how proud he was when he would do it.
That's what they feel proud.
Yeah.
They
and it
feel
feels good
belonging.
seeing them like that.
Yes, yes.
You know, and it does start when they're little.
Yes.
Right? So you talked about independence.
Yes.
You talked about confidence and identity.
Yes.
How does that play into that? Like, how does all those things play into just responsibilities? Like, why would that play into it?
Well, when a child sees that they can make, you know, or handle a task, it makes them feel like, oh, I can do this.
Like they trust
so
me.
they're feeling trusted, like the family is trusting them, you know, to do a particular thing. For example, if they're making their bed, you know, or if they're just you know, sweeping up the floor or something like that. They know that someone in the family can trust them to get those things done. So they feel real capable and they feel real, you know, trustworthy. Like, hey, I did it, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true.
It makes them feel good. So those small little things, it shapes their image.
Yeah.
You know, it shapes who they become.
Wow. And identity, we don't think, like, I don't think we think about that a lot.
Right.
On how a lot of times kids, young adults, people get into an age where they want to know who they are.
Yes.
Like, I want to know my identity. I want to know how I fit into this world.
Yes.
And having been trained since you're little on how to contribute,
Right.
that goes long term.
It does. It shapes that image. And then they begin to say, oh, I have character. I have this image. My family is trusting me to do this. So it makes them feel real good.
So what are some examples of age-appropriate activities that they can do at home, or responsibilities?
Okay, for examples, you know, toddlers, they can clean up their toys, put their toys back in their toy box. And then elementary school kids, they can make up their beds. They can also sweep the floor. They can also feed the pets.
Feed the pets,
Right. And then the middle school kids, they can start preparing those lunches, you know.
Yeah.
And just like you were saying, you put the snacks on a low shelf. But these middle school kids, they can prepare lunches now.
Yes, and
they
cook.
Can help. They can cook. They can help with some of the, you know, cleaning the vegetables and different things. They can help prepare the meals with the family. And then the older kids, you know, they can prepare the lists for making the, you know, buying the groceries, and they can go to the grocery store, and they can make charts, and they can make calendars, they can make the menus, you know, for the families.
Take the trash out.
Take
that's
the
a simple one.
Oh, that's real simple.
Yeah, take the trash out. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, this is my theory, and this is probably bad. If you're old enough to date, you're old enough to cook a dinner.
Cook a dinner. Add to some of that, you know, help around the house.
The responsibilities. Yeah. So, you know, I remember another story. Sorry, it's my son. So
okay.
Well, I should give you examples of my daughter too. But I'm thinking of the trash.
Right.
Because at an early age, as soon as, because you know, kids are strong when they're young. Like, take the trash can out.
Yeah.
Roll it out. Roll it out.
Right.
You know, just it helps you as a parent.
It does.
But it also builds them up.
It does.
And it contributes to the household.
It does. It helps.
So how do you think having responsibilities at home feels empowering instead of punishing to them?
Okay. So when children have responsibilities at home, that empowerment gives them the assurance that they can do some other things. They can also help, other people. They build friendships with that empowerment. They build the courage that they need to do the next thing, whatever that may be, so it empowers them. It, gives them that grit,
So when we talk about giving them the responsibilities, that's probably something parents should tell them.
They should.
While they're giving them. It shouldn't be like, oh, you're in trouble now, so you have to take the trash out.
Right. No, it should not be a punishment.
Yeah.
It should be something for them to understand that we all live in the house together. So let's work together.
Yeah.
To help one another here.
Yeah.
Everybody does a little bit.
Yeah.
It helps and it goes a long way.
And I think that's a good point. You are part of this family and we all contribute.
Yes.
And that's a good point. It's not a punishment.
No.
Because if we tell kids, okay, you did bad in whatever, now you have to do this for the next 5 days.
Right.
That connection becomes really negative.
Yeah. It becomes negative, and they see the chores or the responsibilities in the house as something bad.
Yeah.
When it's not. It's really something good.
Yeah.
Because they're learning from it, they're growing from it, and it's building who they are.
Yeah. So remember that, parents, when consequences are being given for an action, it shouldn't be a responsibility in that sense.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
It should be, that's a different area.
Yes.
So if you're a parent, let's say you're a parent and you are facing some resistance from your child and they're pushing back, they're like, I don't want to help.
Yeah.
I don't want to help.
Well, sometimes you have to normalize it. You have to tell the child, we all have those times when we don't want to go to work. We have resistance ourselves. We don't want to go to work sometimes, but we go. We go because we know that it's going to help us. Yeah. So when the person or the child may have that resistance or that pushback, you have to stay calm. And you have to make sure that you hold boundaries. And then you use when you do this, like when you clean your room, then maybe we can go to the movies. Mm-hmm. Or when you make sure that your chores are done today, then maybe we can do something you'd like to do. Mm-hmm. So you kind of, work it out that way.
And we talked about that in the other episode of motivation versus self-discipline.
Okay.
Right? Because self-discipline is so important.
It is.
And I think responsibilities at home connect greatly to self-discipline.
It does.
Because
yes,
regardless, the trash needs to be taken out.
Yes.
It's not about how we feel.
Right.
Like, oh, I don't feel like it today.
Yeah.
Well, do you feel like eating today?
Right.
Sometimes they might say, no, I don't feel like eating today. But it's just things that need to happen.
Absolutely.
Regardless of what is happening around us. So I think self-discipline is connected to responsibilities.
Right, absolutely. And when they have those responsibilities and that self-discipline, it just will continue on all the way into adulthood.
Yeah.
So it's really a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing because, we have our ups, we have our downs, we have our, not every day's perfect.
Right.
But when you have that self-discipline and still do what you have to do in the middle of when things aren't as easy, which is a lot of times. It's good to have that self-discipline.
It is, really. Really.
And it's so interesting how, I remember when I was little growing up, my mom would she would fill the bathtub with all the white socks.
Okay.
I still remember till this day. And now I'm like, wow, okay. I don't do that,
right.
But it still teaches. I remember it was teaching us that if you walk barefoot, the white socks are going to get dirty. So you're going to scrub them on Saturdays. So there I was Saturday because I would walk barefoot.
Oh, no.
Scrubbing my socks, But it taught me, like, I did that so I have to wash my socks.
Right.
So when I would remember, I would put my shoes on.
Right.
I'd
So I don't have to wipe my socks. Wash my socks.
Yeah, but it's still my own personal responsibility
Right.
and the consequence that I have for my own action.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think about that even now as an adult. Like, it doesn't go away from me. I better put shoes on. Even though I have my own house, my own, washer and dryer, but it's things that does take you.
It still follows you.
It still follows
there.
you.
Yeah.
It's still there. So
and it was a great learning experience, too.
It was a great learning
experience. And so
experience.
students and children, they have to learn from, their experiences. If you don't get this done, then we really may not be able to do some of the other things you want to do. So.
And I think that's I'm glad you said that, because I think as parents, we don't want our kids. A lot of times we prevent experiences from happening because we don't want them to get hurt.
Right.
We don't want them to suffer. We want to protect them.
Right.
And I think we can't learn we could learn in other ways, but experience, man.
Right.
That's like one of the top ways of learning, because you don't forget.
You don't forget when you have those experiences. Experiences really build that person, that character.
Yeah.
So really, absolutely.
It's important. So how can families create consistency?
Well, they can use routines.
I love routines.
Right. Do a visual chart. When I was growing up, my mother used to do a visual chart for our chores.
Okay.
She would create a chart.
Okay.
Our names were all on there, and we would have certain chores that we had to do.
Oh, that's good.
And if we missed one of those chores, then we had to complete the whole week. So we would have our chores for the week. So we'd have to do that whole week again.
Oh, wow.
Right. So we would kind of she would rotate the chores. So maybe I was washing dishes this week and someone else was cleaning the bathroom and someone else was, folding the laundry, whatever, those chores were. If we skipped it, then we had to repeat it. But, it taught us that we weren't skipping it.
Yeah.
We didn't have very many skips.
Yeah.
Routines, having those visual charts, that really helps. And then just natural consequences. So when you miss it, you don't get it done, then, you won't be able to either do this, or you may not be able to go hang out with your friends or
you didn't do
something because you didn't do what you were supposed to do.
Yeah.
So there's natural. You don't want to have to tell children, 10 times, make your bed.
Yeah.
Make your bed. So we want to teach them that by consequences, you do this, then you can get, some ice cream, or maybe we can go to the park, or something like that.
So it's funny because we talked about that under the motivation and behavior.
Okay.
So when should it be tied? When should responsibilities tied to rewards? Like, when should responsibilities be tied to rewards? Like, when do you think?
That's a little bit of a mixed thing for me, because, we have to know that chores are a part of the whole family.
Yeah.
Working together to make sure that those things get done.
Yeah.
But those extra little things, you might want to give a reward for that. So somebody went an extra mile and they helped wash the car, or
when it wasn't part of their chores.
When it wasn't part of their chores. So then you can reward them, and give them a little allowance, or give them a treat or something like that.
Yeah.
But
and let them know.
And let them know. You went way beyond your chores.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's nice, because we as parents want to reward our kids.
Right, absolutely.
We want to reward them. We don't want to keep that. We don't want to separate that.
Right.
So that's a good way of thinking about it. When they do a little extra.
So
they're going to be doing extra every time.
Well, you got to set some boundaries there too. I can only do one extra.
Yeah, like relax. Yeah.
Relax.
Oh, that's good. I like that. So consistency, responsibility, building self-identity. Now let's talk about how all of that transfers to the school.
Okay.
Like, now you have children that are learning responsibilities or not learning responsibilities, and then they become students.
Right.
So let's say for students that have not learned responsibilities, what does that look like in the school setting? In the school setting, when you can tell. Yeah.
As a teacher, you can tell that if a student doesn't have chores or responsibilities at home, they don't have time management. They don't know how to manage their time. They sometimes may not be able to get their assignments done. They're a little bit lagging behind and getting things done because they are not used to the routines. They're not used to getting, those chores done. So then they might have their self-image may, suffer a little bit because they know that they haven't done some of those things that others may have done, and they can't see the growth.
Yeah.
So we'll see that.
So what does that look like? Like in the daily, like if a teacher tells them, like, okay, guys, put your books away. We're now moving on to English or math, and they're kind of taking their time.
Right.
Or...
They're either taking their time or they're fiddling around with something else because they haven't realized, oh, we've gone on to the next thing. That managing that time is really, really important. So
wow. Have you seen
the chores?
Have you seen kids or students like not contribute to a clean classroom?
Yes. So when I was in the classroom and we had to clean our desk out, the students had to clean their desk. If the students don't clean up behind themselves, then they'll have a messy desk. You're getting ready to go out to recess. Everybody's desk clean. We're ready to go. You check the desk. The desks are not clean. Some of them, you know that they haven't managed their time. Wow. They know that sometime through the day they could have been shifting and putting things where they belong. Yeah. And they didn't get a chance to do that. So that management and cleaning up behind themselves. When you have chores, you realize, oh, I'm gonna clean up behind myself. And when you don't have those chores or responsibilities at home, you forget when you get to school. There's still responsibilities.
Wow. And how does that look like for a student that has been taught responsibilities? Like how do you see them at school?
Oh, they're ready to go. They've managed their time. They're consistent. So that consistency is built in with, chores and responsibilities. You're consistent. They're ready to go. Yeah. Their work is done. They don't play around. They're ready.
Wow.
So we see it all the time.
And how about academically? Like, I know, I can only imagine, but does that take a toll in their academics? Like how they could perform?
It could. It could take a toll on their academics because if you're not managing your time, you can't get things done. Yeah. So if you're at home and you know that you have homework to do after school, you either do the homework or the chores first, depending on, your family, dynamics and routine. Yeah. Sometimes students do their chores first. Sometimes students take a snack. When they're managing their time, they can get the assignments done. And so they can keep up with their assignments in school.
Wow. So I never even connected that, but you're right on how responsibilities connect to time management.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you think about math, they begin to calculate differently because they know that this has to happen and this has to happen because their routines have been set for their lives.
Wow.
Through chores and responsibilities at home.
Wow. That's important.
It is really important.
Sometimes we don't realize how teaching our kids to take the trash out.
How it can build their self-image.
Yeah. Wow.
And their capabilities.
What do you think about generational views? Like, let's say you have a grandma in the house.
Okay.
And they tell the mom, like, no, don't make them do anything, poor babies. Because
that does happen.
That does happen.
That can happen. I know that, some generations, like the grandma, she'll try to do the everything for the little ones.
Yeah.
They want to make sure that it's done because maybe when they were growing up, they didn't have this or they didn't have that. Maybe the things that they always wanted. So they want to make sure that those little ones have what they need. So they're trying to make sure they do everything for them. But when they do that, they keep the child from learning and building and growing into that adult that we need them to be. So that they can be productive.
Yeah. So the mom and dad kind of have to tell grandma.
Right.
Like, oh.
Yeah.
And they might not listen.
And some, they may not listen.
Yeah.
They may not.
But it's important to at least bring it up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's okay for the grandma to spoil because grandma and grandpa spoil their grandkids. That's just what they do.
But give them that opportunity to learn too and grow would be great.
Yeah.
It helps. It helps.
Wow. That's good. So, what common myths or misconceptions about giving kids responsibility would you like to clear up?
that it's hard or it's something mean. It's not a punishment. Some people think that when they give their children or their kids responsibilities, that it's a punishment.
Yeah.
It's not a punishment. It's actually great to know that they're able to get into doing chores or responsibilities at home so that they can grow.
Yeah.
That's important. And children really like to do things. They really like to help out. So I would say that it's not a punishment.
Mm-hmm. It's
So,
not a punishment.
No, not at all.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give parents who feel like overwhelmed? And let's say they haven't been teaching their kids responsibility, but they want to start.
Okay.
Because it's never too late to start.
No, never too late to start.
Right? So what would be a good way to start?
I would say to parents, start, small, and then work your way up. Start with some small steps. Maybe allowing them to do something like make some choices in the process of making. Maybe if they're in their room and they want to do something different for their closet, give them some choices to say, hey, would you like to organize your closet? Hey, let's organize your closet. Let me show you some things that we can do. So take some small steps.
Yeah.
And give them that opportunity to
Yeah.
make some choices as well.
Yeah.
Because when they make choices, then they grow in that area as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The other thing I would add is as kids start getting older, I think it's okay to have honest conversations with them.
Right.
And saying, look, this could be something that I didn't teach you
Right.
as you were growing up, but I'm learning
Right.
that it's really important for you to have chores
Yes.
and responsibilities in this house.
Yes.
Like, it's okay you need to contribute.
Absolutely.
And it's okay for us as parents to have those conversations,
It is.
because kids know.
They do.
They see it. They're like, wait, why is she making me do this? And I haven't been doing it for 12 years.
Right. Right.
It's okay. We change. Things change as
Right.
family members. And now we're at a point that we all need to contribute.
Absolutely.
So it's okay, parents, to have those difficult conversations.
Yes. Absolutely.
Because at least they know where you're coming from.
Exactly.
At least they know, like, oh, they're trying to help me be better.
Better.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think kids appreciate that.
They do appreciate it.
Those honest conversations on we're going to make changes as a family.
Absolutely.
I think that can go a long way. Is there anything else that you would like to mention before we end today's podcast?
Well, responsibility is something that we all need, but it's also a gift. When you give your children, your kids, responsibilities, you're giving them a gift of growth. You're giving them a gift of maturing. You're giving them a gift of moving into adulthood with some skills and some know-how to keep going.
Yeah.
Because sometimes life can be difficult when you don't know how to do some things. But if you have some chores and responsibilities when you're younger, when you get a little bit older, you can see the difference.
Wow.
So give them those chores and responsibilities.
Oh, that sounds so good. I'm going to go home and revisit all the chores. I'm going to say, guys, this is changing.
Right.
Yeah, no,
absolutely.
I couldn't have said it better. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
So again, families, this is a short episode on the importance of having responsibilities, but it had a lot of important information on why.
Yes.
And we want our kids to be successful adults.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so thank you for joining us today. Thank you for sharing that insightful information. And families, I want to remind you that at every school site, we have access to SEL Specialists, to licensed clinical social workers, community schools case managers, community liaisons. Yes. There's a lot of support services at our school site. So if there's anything that you need, this podcast was intended just to let you know that we are here to support you. We're here to help you, and come to our school sites. Come here to Student Services if you ever need support in any kind of area.
Absolutely.
And if we don't have the support, we'll connect you to someone that does have the support through our Health Collaborative. We have over 40 partners that are here in our community that want to help. So
and go to open house.
And go to open houses. They're happening.
Some of those things.
Yeah, absolutely. And we provide all those resources. Be involved in your school site.
Yes.
be involved. And we know that many families are working and they can't. So we have district trainings here during the day.
Yes.
If you're available during the day, or we have these podcasts. If not, make appointments with us. We're here to help you, and we're here to support you.
Thank you.
So thank you for coming today.
You're welcome.
And thank you for joining us. And we hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you, and take care.